Now, we have really started to seep in the more mystical and religious side of Star Wars with everything that's going on. I actually think that Anakin's gonna return as a god figure at some point, and that he'll sort of become the Star Wars equivalent of your Jesus archetype. I'll be careful how I word that, because Jesus wasn't blowing up planets and killing younglings, to be fair, but let's look at the evidence and how they kind of line up. So Anakin was created through an immaculate conception, and he was also seen as being the chosen one. In his death, he brought balance to the Force, which could be seen as something similar to how Jesus died for our sins. I know he doesn't exactly line up with Jesus, and across all religions there are these types of figures, so maybe Anakin is just kind of that Jedi equivalent. I'm using Jesus as my main frame of reference because I was raised Christian, so that's like the main thing I have knowledge over, but I think the Christ-like figures exist in a lot of religions, myths, and also legends. Now, Palpatine acted as the devil, and he tempted Anakin, who sadly succumbed to it due to his love for Padme. A Force Ghost could somewhat be seen as his resurrection, and he now sits on a higher plane of existence looking over all. I think Anakin may be revealed to be a Mortis god, which actually has a lot of ties to the Clone Wars. In the series, Anakin clashed with the Mortis god known as the Sun, who too tried to turn him to the dark side by showing him visions of the future. This is much like how the visions of Padme dying in childbirth eventually led to Anakin turning over. However, he redeemed himself by destroying the Emperor, and I think that he'll exist out in the world between worlds as someone who guides and shapes things much like how a god would. Last week we talked about how we think he may replace the Son, and that Ahsoka herself could become the daughter. After sitting on it, I think that he may become the father, with Ahsoka becoming the daughter and then Ezra becoming the son. Ahsoka already has her energies within her as she gave up her life force in order to resurrect her. Now we have the Heir to the Empire film coming up, and I think that these characters will likely come together for that at some point in order to defeat Thrawn. The idea of a trinity is not only present throughout Christianity and other religions, but it's also very present in Star Wars as well. The Mortis gods were a trinity, and the Night Sister Temple also had three figures too. The star map was opened up by making a triquetra, which too is linked directly with the trinity. Lastly, we also have the ancient god figures on Zephyr, which I think may be from this alternate galaxy. So I think that this series and the movies that to follow will very much be about building a new trinity for the saga. Now it could be Anakin as the father and Luke and Leia as the son and daughter, but it just depends what direction they want to take stuff. Should have probably theory time this whole thing, but we'll close out the theory time. You know you fucking idiots love it. Theory time.